October is a definite turning point. And I don't know, you can never quite pinpoint the moment, but we haven't really got there yet, I suppose. We haven't had a first really hard frost, so we're not into winter, but we're definitely into autumn. The grasses have bleached and are fading. The stems are starting to brighten. The colour and the light has a altogether different feel. However, because we haven't had the frosts, we are still enjoying dahlias and really quite a lot of flower around the garden. You know, this is down in the secret garden, and these big dahlias are just amazing. They could go on and on and on. There's these red ones, then there's the purple ones over on the other side, which, you know, the cosmos is still there. And, you know, yes, as you can tell, everything in the garden is now covered in cobwebs. And there is just that indefinable sense of collapse, I think, in the garden. But the view, those trees have started to turn, and yet there is still somehow something that isn't quite full on autumn, and it's definitely not winter yet. This area in the my new ambition planting, as I call it, the chaos is definitely extending, and it is now all about it's more seed heads than it is flowers, and it's more foliage than it's anything else. But it's gorgeous, and particularly on a misty morning like this, the contrast between the softness of the distant shapes and the finely defined points of skeletons of plants and seed heads. You know, those salvia in the pots still going, fabulous. But we are progressing, and it is more about hips and seeds and berries, and even the start of some of the leaf turning. But it's also the season where the hydrangeas go out in that blaze of glory. This is in the front garden. It's hydrangea altona, I think, bought many years ago at Sturton House from the Bullivants. But the front garden has still got a certain amount of flower action, and you know there is a very different feel. But yes, those are still delphiniums. I don't quite know what they think they're doing in October, but I'm loving them. And that tall, slender persicaria is definitely still hanging in, but supported, amazingly, as I said, by these delphiniums, which I don't think they've realised that it's October. The Honesty knows, though, they're definitely into seed head status. But the whole of the front garden does now have a delicacy and I suppose it's like a beautiful old lady. Yeah, she's a little wrinkly, but there is still a grandeur. And along this curved bed, you know, the way the colours of the apples are picked up by the sedums and by the various darker foliage effects coming through there now is very enjoyable. But there are still flowers. So this lovely little Cosmos lemonade is hanging in there and doing its bit, you know, all a bit tatty, but it's still doing it. But then you turn to the hotbed, which, to be honest, isn't still doing it. It's still looking amazing. The dahlias and, I mean, the sunflowers, yes, are long gone. Yes, the tithonia are now just sort of tall, raggedy things. But the salvias and the alstroemeria are going on boldly. So there is still a lot to look at and a lot to enjoy. And as you head up towards the pergola and the terrace, you know, the view from the table there along the path is very, very special. And the way that first salvia is just catching the light and the foliage effects. So inviting to go along and find out, what are those enormous leaves? They definitely divide opinion, the paulownia. Some people love the effect. My husband, possibly not so much. But I love them. And after all, it's my garden and I'm in charge. But yeah, look at those spider webs. It is, for someone that doesn't like spiders, it's not a good month of the year. However, it is the month of the year when this Cotoneaster franchetti, I think that's how you pronounce it, really comes into its own, a slightly dull lump for much of the year. Now it is coated in berries and the whole plant is weighed down. Truly, truly glorious. But it's not a patch on the berries out in the orchard and the forest garden. Look at those rose hips and the holly beyond. But the pond in that morning mist is truly magical. And the effect of the light coming through the trees beyond, I don't need mature trees in my garden. I've got them and I can borrow them.